head coach, and you got to go through a whole new coaching carousel. The one thing that I thought that we would have learned by now is that there's not going to always be a lot of retention. You know that when a new regime comes in, I thought we learned last time under Brian Kelly that there is a very strong possibility that the new guy coming in would not retain people. But if you did and you were able to hold on to some guys, that would have been great. It would have been very great that if you were able to hold on to some guys here that either have history here or did a really good job and have shown that they could do a really good job, that you would be able to retain them. But like all around college football, what happens is when someone does a really good job, people want their services. When other teams start having vacancies, other teams will be interested in coaches at a place like LSU to have their services. Now, over the last couple of days, you and I have been talking about Blake Baker. There have been a lot of rumors and speculation in reference to if Blake Baker was going to stay on as a defensive coordinator at LSU. And quite frankly, it hasn't been in reference to a fight, or it hasn't, let me back up. It hasn't been a situation where Lane Kiffin has not been massively trying to keep Blake Baker as a defensive coordinator in Baton Rouge. But Fletcher Mackel of WDSU says that sources tell WDSU that all signs point toward LSU defensive coordinator Blake Baker becoming the next head coach of Tulane. Baker, the former Green Wave player, Baker is a former Green Wave player. A deal is not yet done, but could be finalized by tonight or Friday, with news release on Saturday and introduction on Monday and or Tuesday. So let's talk about that as we get into the show here tonight. Number one, I think we'd all have been knowing a couple of days that this was probably trending to Tulane if they missed on Billy Napier, which a lot of people kept saying Billy Napier wasn't for whatever reason, a target. But with Billy Napier taking the job, and looks like he has taken the job at James Madison, that Blake Baker was going to be in this mix. The alma mater of Tulane, or his alma mater being Tulane, coming off not a good season, a great season and a great turnaround at LSU, that he was going to be someone on top of that list. And we had wondered how quickly this was going to progress. Now, I can tell you a couple of things here. Number one, as we've talked about earlier, but just to recap, Blake did interview with Tulane. Now, I'm going to refute Garland Gillian's report that he was in New Orleans interviewing. I heard it went differently than that, but he also went to Memphis, or he also interviewed with Memphis in reference to their head coaching vacancy as well. The deal is not yet finalized, but let's talk about both sides if it's not. Number one, Lane Kiffin is 1,000% trying to hold on to Blake Baker. I do think if Blake Baker were to stay, he is going to get a pay raise. He's probably going to be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, and LSU is massively battling. What I have been told was the sell from Lane Kiffin and Verge Alsbury and staff was, listen, come give us another year, wait for another job to open, and we will really push for you to get one of these big head coaching jobs. But when home, quote unquote, which the home of Blake Baker is not New Orleans, it is Houston, but when the alma mater calls and Tulane is going into the playoffs and it's propelled two head coaches to get the Houston and Florida jobs, does Blake Baker look at this situation and say, yeah, I should probably take this because my goal is to be a Power 4 sitting coach potentially in the SEC? More than likely, yes. But they have been battling. And, I look at John Summerall and say, well, he was only making a little bit less than $3 million a year. Ryan Silverfield was making a little bit less than $3 million a year. Memphis probably, from what I was told, countered and gave a little bit more than what Blake Baker's currently making at LSU to be able to get his services in Memphis. which they just invested $50 million into their football and sports athletic programs. I don't know the decision that he is going to make, but they are fighting. On the flip side of that, as we've also discussed, guys, if I was advising Blake Baker, I would say you're going to have to make the decision of, do you think that another year or two at LSU could propel you to getting one of these big-time jobs, or does going to Tulane and have 2 really good years like Willie Fritz and what John Summerall had, could that propel you into one of these massive roles that could be happening? Do you look at Tulane in a situation where you are prideful of that place, you want to go back to that place, you want that place to continue to succeed? But I would understand the situation of him taking that job. Because what Blake Baker did at LSU was nothing short of amazing. If he does go and take the job at Tulane, what he did both stints at LSU is nothing short of amazing. You have his first stint at LSU that he was a part of, revamping a career for Damone Clark in a way that is probably one of the best linebackers and best linebacking play that we have seen probably, I don't want to say the last decade, but him and Devin White, I mean, we saw an elite player get formed under Blake Baker. We saw Blake Baker get fired by Brian Kelly, move to the DC at Missouri, and then do a really good job there, come back to LSU and take a defense that was 108th in the country in total defense to a top 25 unit and a top 15 unit in scoring defense, which is the only thing that matters. A top 5 team in the country in the red zone. Guys, he's an elite play caller. He always has been, and he always will be. You know that all the games that we were in and the dogfights with Alabama, the dogfight you got in last week versus Oklahoma, it was because of what Blake Baker had built in the turnaround that he had from Matt House's exit to Blake Baker's entrance. As a friend, I would tell Blake Baker, go do it, man. Go do it. Go be great. As it is absolutely pouring at the studio right now. I hope, please, dear God, lights stay on. Please, dear heavens, I need y'all all to stop right now and pray for the studio. It is pouring right now, son. Please stay on, lights. Please stay on. But as I pray for our electricity to stay on, I also pray for Blake Baker to stay at LSU because I am a fan. But as a friend, I would tell him, if you think that that is the best opportunity for you to take to go and propel yourself to the next big job, well, then go and do it. Then go and do it. But there's one thing that I wanted to point out here, as Fletcher Mackel pointed out in his report. The deal is not done. It is not done. Can LSU come in here at the 11th hour when all of this is going on and give him an offer that he can't refuse, Godfather style? Can Lane Kiffin and Verge Alsbury go full Vito Corleone and make him an offer that he can't refuse? Because I think your defensive staff questions start getting answered if he takes that job, because you're going to have to go get a new staff. But my question is, if he doesn't take it, do you hold on to Corey Raymond? Do you hold on to Kevin Peoples? I don't think that Jake Olson is going to be retained if Blake Baker is here, because Chris Kiffin's got to coach something, and I don't know what that is. Somebody's going to have to move the safety, linebacker, whatever Lane Kiffin wants to do. I don't know what he's going to do. But LSU has a chance here to make one final counter. Now, it's stated by Fletcher Mackel that a deal could be done as soon as tonight. And if it is, I wish him all the success. I wish him all of the best wishes, because he was who we needed. He understood this place. He recruited this place really well. He completely changed everything that you were under Matt House. He played the best players. He did. And he went out and got really good players to come here so that we could have success. I have no idea what he's going to do. None. But I would tell him that the decision that he's going to make here is the biggest of his life outside of asking his wife to marry him. It's the biggest decision that he could ever make. Depends on what side of the camp you fall on. I could see a world, because of how polarizing Lane Kiffin will be, that this isn't a situation with Brian Kelly and the, I don't want to say dull program, but you're going to be seeing a lot with Lane Kiffin. If you do what you did again defensively and everything's not on your shoulders, you can get one of these big jobs. I don't know where, I don't know how, and who knows what's going to propel you moving forward. But a deal's not done. And I will tell you this, I do think LSU counters. I do. But they can counter with money. They can counter with everything they want. At this point, it's going to come down to Blake Baker making the decision of what he wants to do. It seems like that he's leaning to already making the decision of going to Tulane. If deals are going to be done by tonight, in my opinion, if what Fletcher Mackel is saying is correct, and I have no indication to say that he's wrong, I'm assuming that he's getting that from people at Tulane. But if that is the case, then, guys, he's already accepted the job. Right? Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Right? Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's a strong chance that if they're going to get a deal done by tonight, that he's probably already told him he's going to take it. We will see. I thank Blake Baker for all that he's done, man. I thank him for the turnaround. I thank him for the energy. I thank him for the success. You know, like the energy that he brought on defense, I felt like that sometimes in the Brian Kelly era, they tried to dull it down too much. You know, when they would catch a pick, everybody's jumping up and down and freaking out at practice. And, you know, they were kind of told to calm down a little bit. They should have kept doing it more, because that might have propelled you from not being 7-5 for crying out loud. Blake Baker's an amazing coach. As our good friend Josh Pate calls him, the American hero, which y'all let me know about all the time. I hope he takes it if he thinks it's the best thing for him. In reference to who could replace him, when we come out of the break, I will give you some opinions. Not where they're going, but strictly opinion. Nevertheless, we're live. Everybody do us a favor by hitting like and share. Share to all those groups on Facebook and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Every AYS Sports Show is brought to you by our good friends and partners over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Use your mobile device to download the app. If you want to bet on parlays, futures, or just overall money line or point spread bets, you should do it with our good partners and friends over at FanDuel. Want to set your preferences? Don't want to bet over a certain amount of money per month? You can go over to FanDuel.com/RG for more details and more questions. But we're glad to be partnered and powered by our good friends over at FanDuel. Jimmy became a member on the YouTube channel along with Al Landry and along with Dave, not Mike. We appreciate it. We have some members-only content that posted today. And boy, I will tell you, telling the truth sometimes, well, let's just say this. I'm not going to run out here and just say some crazy batshit stuff. That's neither here nor there. But thank you all for becoming members of the YouTube channel. We got some content that was out there and published today. Horace King with a $5 super chat says, let's go after Kelvin Shepard out of Detroit. Our co-defensive coordinator, Tavares Robinson. It's actually Travaris Robinson, or T-Rob. People forget they are in the beginning. At Georgia, if Blake leaves, be safe. You know, Travaris, we'll talk about that coming out of the break here. We'll talk about a little bit about recruiting and Lamar Brown and things like that. Richard Anderson signs, by the way, officially. T-Rob would be great. He's been in Nick and Kirby's staff. Does Lane Kiffin want to give him a shot here? T-Rob would be a really, really good coach. It's going to might cut loose Corey Raymond, though. But I like T-Rob. I think T-Rob's a really, 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 really good coach. So we'll talk about that out of the break. Walking, talking, Stephen Hawkin with a $5 super chat says triple his salary, $6 million a year, fully guaranteed on a 2-year extension. I don't care about the guaranteed money. Don't let him leave the building. You can't give a DC $6 million a year. If you're going to, so 2, 4, 6, $7 million a year. Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, guys, Lane's getting, I guess you technically could, but they're not going to do that. If anything, they'll probably go up to 3 to 3.2, maybe even 3.5 if the market dictates it. They're not going to do that, though. They're not going to do that. Nor do I think they should. Nor do I think that they should. I love Blake Baker, but paying him $7 million a year, doubling his salary. I mean, he's at 2.5, so it's 5. But I mean, incentive. The reason I'm saying 6 to 7, 6, 7, is that he's got massive amounts of incentives in his contract, and he's probably going to hit some of them with Lane being here. You get on the 5 just in a base. I just think that's a little outlandish, to be blunt with you. All right. Let's get moving on here. Let me get to a quick break. We come back. We talk about DCs. We talk about signing day. Lane Kiffin going to College Game Day on Saturday. We'll talk about that as well. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man. He's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler. He'll shoot you straight.
Hey, guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. We're back. All right. So with the Blake Baker news from Fletcher Mackel that he's potentially leaving and going to Tulane, the biggest question that I've been asked in the comments, the biggest question I've just been asked in really general outside of Lane Kiffin and signing day stuff, Blake, where do we go if Blake Baker were to move on to Tulane? Now, I got to say this. These quote-unquote names that I'm bringing up, this is opinion. Strictly 1,000% opinion. I am not coming out here. Well, maybe other than one of them. I'm not coming out here telling you names that I am hearing outside of maybe one of them. These are just guys that I think that they would kick the tires on to see. How do I want to say this? These are the guys that I would kick the tires on. One of them, I know that they more than likely will kick the tires on. So, with that being said, Corey Platoon of Missouri, I think, is a really good defensive coordinator. Guys, the God's honest truth was Missouri just had struggles in their passing game offensively. They had a lot of struggles at wide receiver. I think they were, if memory serves me correctly, they were second in the SEC in drops this year at wide receiver and I guess tight end as well. Bo Prabula was just not the quarterback that I think that a lot of people thought that he could be after some early success in the season. But Corey Platoon in that Missouri defense was nasty. Replacing one former Missouri defensive coordinator with another would be a little bit interesting. But Corey Platoon did a lot of really good things at Missouri. Their defense was stout. They've done a really good job at developing. He's somebody that I would look into, and that I think when you look at Corey Platoon and ask yourself the question, who is he? What does he do? How good has he been? Did you see any Missouri game this year? Defensively, they were freaking elite, and their front seven was absolutely disgusting, and they played very fast. They played downhill. They were in your face, and they would quite honestly knock you out. Now, the reason that I bring up Corey Platoon, okay, and the reason why I think that all of this is interesting is because when I look at Corey Platoon and I look at how good that they've played, I look at all the really good things that they've done, and I also look at his past. Corey Platoon was the co-DC in 2017 at Florida Atlantic. Do you want to know who the head coach was in 2017 at Florida Atlantic? Well, his name was Lane Kiffin. And I don't know if Lane would go there. I don't really know the past history between the both of them because after 2017, Corey Platoon went back home to Hawaii and was the defensive coordinator and safeties coach there. Went to Liberty, went to South Alabama for a couple of years with the current defensive coordinator, by the way. He was the defensive coordinator for Cain Womack, who took the Alabama job, and then he went to Missouri after Womack left. The interesting thing in that is that you have a tie with a guy who's done it in the SEC and done it at a really good level. What was the last thing that we saw that Lane Kiffin did in hiring a defensive coordinator? He went to somebody that he knew. The funny thing about Corey Platoon is that he was at Ole Miss from 2012 to 2016. No tie to Lane Kiffin there. But the ironic thing is that he didn't go back and get him, meaning Corey Platoon, but he was a DC at other places. It was what it was. I do think that could be interesting. He also coached safeties and special teams and was the coach DC for Lane Kiffin. I think Corey Platoon would be a really, really, really good defensive coordinator, and I think it's somebody I would just say that we could keep our eyes out on moving forward. I don't know how the relationship was with him and Lane Kiffin. I don't know. But there's definitely a connection, and Corey Platoon had a really good defense this year for Missouri. Their secondary was not that great, but they also didn't give him a lot of the players to do so. Their safety play was really good, which is what he coached. God bless it. Stand by. Fucking rain. All right. Dial up internet. Dial up internet again. They got our ass again. Oh, we're going to have to move to a studio. We're going to have to move into a studio. We apologize for the inconvenience here. Because, of course, it's going to do this during a show when it's pissing outside. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So let me just reemphasize what I said about Corey Platoon. There is a lot of connections between Corey Platoon and Lane Kiffin. He was on Lane Kiffin's staff at Florida Atlantic. He's a special teams guy, safety coach in 2017. He's done it in the SEC, and I think that he would be a very, very good coach moving forward if you were to go that direction, replacing one former DC at Missouri for another, essentially. Their front seven was disgusting. The way that they developed, the way that they called defense, quite frankly, I think that regardless of how things ended with Lane Kiffin and Corey Batoon, Lane's got to call him. In my humble opinion. In my humble opinion. So that's one that we could look at here. Chris Partridge is somebody else that I think that could be interesting. You know, there was some connections there with him, but I'm going to punt on that one for a minute. The rest of these are opinions moving forward. Ron English at Louisville, I think, does not want to be around Jeff Brom anymore. I think that a guy who had a top 16 defense top 16 defense at Louisville this year deserves a look at. Another one that a lot of people bring up is Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles is somebody at Penn State that we don't really know the status of. I don't think he knows the status of. I have no idea what's going to happen at Penn State. Do they promote Terry Smith after all of this time when they should have done it a lot sooner and a lot longer? What, Brandon? Okay. Just let me know if it's official. But I look at Ron English. They did a lot of really, really, really good things. Jim Knowles, let's restart that. I don't know what Penn State's going to do here. I think that Penn State is in a world of flux. Jim Knowles is currently their DC. Obviously, you know Jim Knowles for winning at Ohio State. They won a national championship. He went to James Franklin at Penn State. James Franklin gets fired. He's been a really good DC. I have no idea if that would remotely be on the table. If Jim Knowles hits the open market, however, I'm 1,000% looking into it because I think he's a really good play caller and a really good defensive coordinator. Look, another one that I think is interesting here, again, if you're just asking my opinion, I don't know any of this to be true. It's just you asked me, I gave you some opinions. I'm giving you some opinions. T-Rob or Travaris Robertson, who's the co-DC at Georgia. He was under Nick Saban and under Kirby Smart. Does he want a chance to fully call plays? Guys, let me tell you something that I think here. When I look at Lane Kiffin and some of the things that he's done in the past, he's always had some form of Alabama tie. Would T-Rob want to make the leap to be a full-time play caller? Some of you would say, well, if you're going to go get a secondary guy, why wouldn't you promote Corey Raymond? I just think T-Rob's a little bit different. I would give it a look in the sense of that he comes with somebody who's an elite recruiter, somebody who has developed at an elite level. I think his unit, by the way, T-Rob's unit has gotten the best that I have seen from the beginning of the season to the end of the season of young guys that he recruited, multiple 5-stars that he recruited. Guys, they were awful at Tennessee. And then at the end of the season, Georgia was one of the best secondaries in the country. They've been really locked down, and let's see what they do this weekend versus Alabama. T-Rob is definitely somebody I would look at. I'm going to throw out a pretty wild name to you because, look, I do watch some action here. I do watch some midweek football, and a team that constantly, if you follow the sport nationally, a name that's been really hot in some circles that nobody's going to want to hear is Vince Karras at Toledo. He led the second best total defense in the country this season at Toledo. The former Mount Union Division III head coach who went 95-6 in his tenure at Mount Union. is someone that I have heard from a lot of people in this process that has gotten a lot of looks at potentially being a DC at a lot of places. I have no idea if LSU will go to Toledo to get their defensive coordinator. However, a guy with head coaching experience, with over 100 games under his belt, even at the Division III level, has gone now into college, dominated on the defensive side of the ball, and I've just heard a lot of times that people have given him a look. They are very aggressive. They are very downhill, and it's definitely someone that I would look into. Here are some guys that I don't think that LSU will hire as their next defensive coordinator. Ed Orgeron. So before you come in here and say, man, let's go hire Coach O to call plays. Well, I don't know. Kevin Steele's been out of the game. I see that some of this. Guys, I like Coach O. I don't like saying shit, but you know what's going to happen? We put on Facebook that Blake Baker per WDSU might be taking the job at Tulane, and I saw like 3 comments of people saying, man, let's just hire Ed Orgeron to call defenses. Guys, for the love of God. For the love of God. I don't know. Here's what I do know, and stay with me here. You know, a lot of people ask me about what Lane Kiffin could do if Blake Baker were to move on to Tulane. And I think the answer for me is really simple. How many people have learned under his father and Monty Kiffin? What is the Rolodex that a Lane Kiffin has to be able to go to call a good defense? You know, he went and got Pete Golding. He hired Corey Batoon, who's now one of the best coordinators in the SEC. And who are all the people that Monty Kiffin has touched throughout his life that might want to come to Baton Rouge to be able to be the defensive coordinator at a place like this? Now, you do have Lane Kiffin's brother and Chris Kiffin that is here. And there's very much an opportunity where he could get that role and he could get that job. That I don't know. And maybe there's a situation where we haven't heard about potential replacements in a high level because of the fact that Chris Kiffin, his brother, could take it. Now, you look at Chris Kiffin as an example of someone who could take the job, and that being his brother. Who else would have learned the Monty Kiffin defense better than his son and Chris Kiffin? Chris Kiffin. Now, when we look at Chris, I know that there's going to be some scenarios and situations of what people point at with him. But when I look at Chris Kiffin specifically, he has been with his brother for quite some time. He was a linebackers coach at Houston. He was a linebackers defensive line coach with the Cleveland Browns. You know, there was a guy named what was his name? Myles Garrett, who actually won 2 defensive players of the year. No big deal. He was with the San Francisco 49ers. He was the defensive coordinator in 2017 for his brother, Lane Kiffin. Could there be a scenario where, as we talked about earlier with Corey Batoon, his brother was on the staff, Corey Batoon was on the staff, and it was the year one at a place. The year one at a place. So that Rolodex definitely could be rolling here. Look, I don't know where they go. But I think that Monty Kiffin being your father and Monty Kiffin being in your life, and, you know, Lane's talked about his dad a lot in this process, and why not? He should. I think that there's somebody that he might have in mind, and we're just going to have to wait and see who it is. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. I don't know if you're going to have a lot of staff turnover. I think a lot of guys would have known by now. I have been told that Lane wanted to see these guys that were currently on staff get to work, and then they have the number one audition to stay at LSU because Lane, your boss is there. And if you get to work and you do a lot of really good things, you might be retained. To anybody that would listen to me, that's what I've been telling them from the start. The only real thing that I've heard through some NFL circles was that Lane would not be opposed to, or Coach Kiffin would not be opposed to looking around in the NFL a lot like what Ohio State did. Somebody that has those deep ties. That part I'm not really guessing about because there's been a lot of circulation there and a lot of people being thrown in his face in references if this happens from the NFL level. Guys, I don't know about Kelvin Shepard. I know a lot of you are going to bring that up too, but I heard that he wouldn't be opposed to it. We'll see how it all plays out. Blake Baker's technically got to take the job first before that even happens, if he hasn't already taken the job since we've been live. Because he very well could have. Very well could have. Yeah, Brandon. Let me tell you what Brandon told me in my ear. Apparently, Penn State has shifted all of their focus on Matt Campbell. The bent build, Matt Campbell. Don't mind it. Don't mind it for them. I think Matt Campbell's a really, really, really good head coach. But I thought he said that they hired Matt Campbell. I was like, damn. It stopped me in my tracks. Matt Campbell's a really good freaking head coach, man, and he deserves it. I hate his bent bill, though. I really, really, really do. All right, let's do this. Let me get to a quick break. We come back. We talk about signing day. Lane Kiffin going on game day. We'll talk about that, too. Stay with us. Hey, Southwest Louisiana. Are you ready to gear up for your next outdoor adventure or tackle that next big job on the farm? Then head on over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. At Henderson and Lake Charles, they've got everything you need under one massive 30,000 square foot indoor showroom. Kubota tractors and mowers to power through the toughest tasks. Polaris off-road bikes and side-by-sides to conquer any trail. And tracker boats with brands like Ranger, Nitro, Sun Tracker, and Regency pontoons for a day out on the water. Whether you're a farmer or a hunter or just someone who loves the great outdoors, Henderson has what you need to get the job done and have fun while doing it. Browse their new and used inventory over at their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. Or give them a call today at 337-436-4366. That's 337-436-4366. Or go see them over in Lake Charles on the corner of East McNee Street and Highway 14. Remember, if you need a tractor, go to Henderson. Need a boat, go to Henderson. Or if you need an ATV or side-by-side, you know where to go. Henderson. Just let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. Yes, I saw. Hold on.
We're back.
Yes, I know the Chris Partridge situation at Michigan, but he also got a little bit exonerated too. I don't know where we're going at defensive coordinator. I have no clue. Those were opinions, most of them. Corey Batoon is not really an opinion at the current moment. It's got some sourced stuff to that. I have no idea if they're going there, though. None, absolutely at all. All right, let's get to some recruiting here. So Richard Anderson officially signs. We talked a lot about that today. And I told you even before it was official on the members-only content, look, man, it's going to happen. I feel good about it. in that same members-only content today, I told you how I felt about Lamar Brown. So become a member, and, well, you'll just really know my thoughts and what I'm actually thinking and feeling and hearing in reference to a situation. Guys, in reference to Lamar Brown, I do think things are trending in the right direction. I don't think that this is going to make it to February, and I do believe that LSU feels really good about where they sit at the current moment. Guys, the truth of the matter is that Lane Kiffin got here on a Sunday. He had a press conference on a Monday, and then now you sit here at the end of the week pretty much on a Thursday when National Signing Day is here, and you had a lot of duct tape that you had to put on things to be able to get through the finish line for a top 10 class. Signing Richard Anderson, I've seen a couple of comps out there for Richard Anderson talking about maybe a little bit bigger. Glenn Dorsey is what a lot of people think about with him, that they think he's that special and can be that good. I don't know. But you're signing the number 1 and number 2 defensive tackles in the country. Guys, this game is one up front. And when it comes down to it, I think that there's 3 positions that when it just comes down to it all, when we go on the field and we talk about football, that if this state ever produces, you just can't miss on. That is up front along the offense and defensive lines, and that is at quarterback. Now, I know that you'll say, well, Blake Elijah Haven's trending in another direction, but Pop Houston is committed for 2027. If Lane Kiffin is here, I don't know if Elijah Haven fits his system better than what a Pop Houston does after we just saw what we saw from Jackson Dart, Trinidad Chambliss. But it definitely looks like Pop Houston could definitely fit more of what Lane Kiffin's doing. Oh, by the way, Lane Kiffin offered Pop Houston first. You can't miss. You quite simply can't miss. You know, Lane talked about in his introductory press conference, I'm coming to LSU and we're going to bring the best players to LSU. There's nothing better than bringing the number 1 and number 2 defensive tackles in the country into your program. Quite simply put, there's absolutely nothing else that you can divulge from what you got to do is in this place to be able to do it. And Richard Anderson signs today officially. I know that there were a lot of things out there. We talked about that in great detail in the members-only content. I'm not going to rehash it. Just go listen to it there. But you got it done. And the only thing that it matters is that you got it done. Now, Lamar Brown is the other part of that piece. Him being the number 1 athlete, the number 1 player, the number 1 defensive tackle inside the state of Louisiana and in all the country. And the number 1 player in all of the country. I do think Lamar Brown, for what it's worth, would make a Hall of Fame center. That's neither here nor there. I think he's that level of smart. But I don't think this drags on to February. I think that you will be able to get the deal done. I do think that you're going to be able to hold on here, and you did what you needed to do. The one thing that I think we all need to stress in reference to recruiting right now is that Lane Kiffin was the one that closed, and Blake Baker has been a massive part of that. I don't know if Blake Baker leaving shifts any thought processes here of late, because what is true as of 46 minutes ago could have been different right now. And I say 46 minutes ago because that's when we started the show. What I know is that I think that you've closed on both. I feel good that you closed on both, and this is recruiting and anything can happen. If you do that, you're starting to set yourself apart in a situation where you can do really good things. You can attract some of the best names as from a defensive coordinator perspective and say, hey, I'm throwing out a random name, Jim Knowles, Corey Batoon, Matt Patricia, Ohio State, whoever it is. We have the number 1 and number 2 defensive tackles in the country. Co-mold them, and build a legacy. Now, guys, the sentiment around here all week has been very simple when it comes to recruiting. These prospects are meeting with 3 people, mainly 2. Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock, your new general manager. When have you ever heard of Brian Kelly closing? Guys, there's a lot that's being made of Lane Kiffin right now. You're going to see a lot of it on game day. You see a lot of it throughout the week. You're going to see a lot of it through the offseason. The one thing that we as LSU fans need to focus on right now, let everybody just talk. We're going to get to that in a moment. Let everybody talk their shit. Talk your shit, you better back it up. Better back it up. So go ahead and get all of your emotions out. Get all of your feelings out. Take a Midol. Do whatever you got to do. Whatever you want to say about LSU, go ahead and say it. Go drink your cranberry juice to make your little tummy feel better because you're sick to your stomach, in reference to maybe not cranberry juice. Drink your Boost. Whatever you got to drink. Drink your seltzers. Whatever you got to drink to make your little tummy feel better so that you're not nauseous because Lane Kiffin's at LSU. None of that shit matters as an LSU fan. The real thing and the only thing that matters right now more than staff, to me, right now, is you lock down the two best players in the state, you lock down the two best defensive tackles in the country, and you've only really had 48 to 72 hours to get that done. The number one thing Lane Kiffin did when he got off the plane, yes, shake some hands, kiss some babies, get some photos with Booster's kids, all of that. Cool, great. The number one thing that he did, the number one thing, it wasn't talking to Frank Wilson. It wasn't talking to none of that. The number one thing is that when he walked outside from his office, his brand new office in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lamar Brown walked outside with him. That is what we need to focus in on. A pissed off Lane Kiffin is an elite Lane Kiffin. We've seen it at Bama. We've seen it at Ole Miss. He probably thought last year's team should have gotten to the playoff and it didn't, and he came back and he just took no prisoners. That's what I worry about more than most. I do think that this thing's going to get across the finish line with Lamar Brown too, and that will be a really, really big day. Trent Henderson, the defensive lineman as well, the edge rusher out of the state of Florida, also pushed his commitment back as well. Florida State and Auburn are pushing. Can you fend off yet again? So you went 1-for-1 on Richard Anderson. Can you go 2-for-2 with Lamar Brown, which seems to be trending in the right direction? Can you go 3-for-3 and get the edge guy that you need? I don't know if tonight's story with Blake Baker does you any favors whatsoever with Trent Henderson. Now, Henderson did go and take a visit to Auburn during the Iron Bowl. DJ Durkin is staying there at Auburn. But it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Can you go 3-for-3? Now, Trenton Henderson is not technically a 5-star, but guys, he's a top 50 player in the country and a really good and bona fide dude. Long, lanky, speed, can get after the quarterback. Can you go 3-for-3? Auburn and Florida State are really honing in here. They're really honing in. And I think Kevin Peoples did a really good job identifying in Henderson, and I think he's a really good player. That one is a little bit more iffy to me than Lamar Brown because I don't know where that one's going to go. With Blake Baker's status and Kevin Peoples potentially following, does Kevin Peoples just want to stay at LSU? Because I don't think that a conversation with Blake Baker staying didn't come without keeping Kevin Peoples and Corey Raymond. We'll see there. Look, there's been some other things I heard in reference to recruiting here down as we go down the stretch. Jalen Lott, he did not sign with Oregon. You're talking about in Jalen Lott, the Texas legacy, okay? USC and LSU both have kind of circled back along with Texas. It looks like Oregon is going to flip Chris Henry Jr. If Oregon does flip Chris Henry Jr. and he doesn't go to Ohio State, I don't know how that's going to make Jalen Lott feel. I have no clue. What I know is that he's a Texas legacy, and I know Texas wants him. And they need some speed at receiver. Jalen Lott coming to LSU would make a massive statement for you in the NIL game. more than the player could right now, the point of a Jalen Lott would be like, yeah, Oregon went after him. I'm sure they were going to pay him a shitload of money. So did Texas. But LSU, everything that was said about LSU and NIL, and they go get that kid, shit. Like I'm on the wire. Shit. I have no idea where that kid's leaning. I have absolutely no clue. What I could tell you is like Max Bowen last night, which we kind of hinted at pretty heavy. LSU was after Max Bowman, and they were throwing some serious cash around. I'm going to get to that at the end. I don't know what Jalen Lott's going to do. There's some thought out there that Bowman, I don't know. We'll see. But I do think Chris Henry is going to flip. I talked to some people close to him, allegedly. They are. I don't know. I think he's going to Oregon. Last but not least here, Chase Matthews. Auburn people feel very confident. It's going to be really hard to flip some of these guys, man. Some of these big five-star guys. Let's see what LSU can do here by Friday. It could be a massive day tomorrow. Could be, but I'm not going to hurt. It's not going to affect me either way if they do or they don't. I just don't know why you would go to Auburn. Now, you could say Alex Golish is going to fix the quarterback problem. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Alex Golish is a really good coach. Really good offensive mind. I have no idea what's going to happen there. Lastly, about recruiting. This one I wanted to bring up more than anything. I don't really personally care if LSU is able to flip some of these big-time guys that didn't sign this week. Like if you're not able to flip a Jalen Lott, Chase Matthews, if you're not able to flip Max Bowen, who you went after, whoever it is, the point that not flipping them, why I would really like those kids to be LSU Tigers, but that I'm just kind of meh over at the current moment is because even if you don't, there's a lot of rumors that are flying around out there, and a lot of people are calling them rumors because they're like, yeah, but can they flip somebody? Like, is this all just made up money until they can actually flip somebody? I don't know. But, guys, let me tell you what I've been hearing, and I've talked to some people around LSU on this. Guys, they ain't joking about this NIL shit. There's a lot of things that were said in reference to when Lane Kiffin came here, and then he goes to the podium and says, yeah, so LSU came up with the bags when it comes to going and paying players. I think Lane might have been right. LSU starts throwing a lot of money at some kids the last couple of days. A lot. And in some renegotiations that they did over the last couple of days for guys that were already committed. I'm starting to feel a little bit different vibe around here. The reason I'm starting to feel a little bit of a different vibe is mainly due to the fact that I just think that Scott Woodward, and I've talked about this a lot, Scott Woodward did a lot of shitty things in the Brian Kelly era. He did. When the walls start closing in on him, he finally let money start to flow because the walls were closing in. It seems as if Verge has come up and replaced him and said, shit, go pay him. Go get the most elite dudes in the country, bring them here, and let's go win. Guys, Verge has been on his game, guys. He's been on his game, brother. Right, wrong, or indifferent. LSU throwing some real Louisiana cash out there. Blake, the state's poor. How do y'all got shit? LSU ain't. Them boosters ain't. Just because we don't know how to balance a checkbook from our governmental system doesn't mean that these CEOs of these massive companies don't. They got a lot of backing coming from behind Lane right now. And I am very excited. Personally, I am very excited about where things sit right now and what LSU can do in the portal. So that's kind of probably why I'm a little mad right now. I'm just mad because it's like, I'm just like, well, whatever, because I think you better go get some dudes in the portal, brother. I think that there's a lot of potential that some of these quarterbacks, big-time quarterbacks, could hit the portal along with some receivers. Guys, you've had way too much coaching shakeup, way too much coaching carousel shakeup for some of these big-name players not to get in the portal. Guys like Cam Coleman could make a small little fortune here. Like a guy like Cam Coleman could go in the portal and probably make $2 million. And y'all think I'm crazy. All right. Guys, they think this dude's a superstar. And some of the catches that he had this year with some really bad quarterback play, he very well could be. Needs to catch the ball a little bit more consistently. And I don't know if he gets to $2 million. I think 1.2 to 1.5 is where he's going to sit. But that's where he's going to sit. Go pay him. Go pay him. Go pay a lot of these dudes to come here. That's what gets me fired up. Like, guys, to be a little bit honest with you, I don't you can't see the hairs on my arm. I'm kind of getting a little bit of goosebumps. Like, I'm like, shit, dude, I think we're about to go for it. We're really about to start ramping this thing up. Guys, when Brian Kelly was here, like, love him or hate him, I still think he's a really good guy. This is not a shot at Brian Kelly, because I think Brian Kelly kind of had a hand tied behind his back because of Scott Woodward. I will source that for days and get in any debate anybody who covers this team. Scott was not a good AD here. He felt the pressure and he mismanaged. I just feel a different culture right now. Blake, you just hired we just hired a new head coach and athletic director. That's true. So you're always going to be excited when that happens. But yet when those feelings start becoming action and LSU's going out there spending money, like, guys, they were prepared to spend some money. But we were about to get ratchet up in this thing. But brother, all right, I got goosebumps, man. I feel a shift. I really do. I really, really, really do. I feel a shift in all of this in reference to who you are, what you've become, what you will continue to do. It gets me excited, man. It really does. And I think that you should be excited as well. All right. Before we get out of here and get to some comments, there's something that I wanted to mention. So last night we had a super chat inside the show, and somebody asked, Blake, how crazy would it be if Lane Kiffin went on College Game Day on Saturday at the SEC championship game and talked with Nick Saban, talked to the host, whatever. Now, I consume college football content, a lot of it. I know a lot of you got your 2025 YouTube, like the pages that you watch the most. Mine was Wheels, by the way. Mine, the account Wheels that breaks down all the games, that was mine because I like watching college football, college baseball. I consume and see a lot of content when it comes to the national perspective. Like local stuff, I don't really see. It's not really in my algorithm. A lot of national stuff is. Mainly because I have to cover that, all of college football as well. I am old enough to remember this week, the week before, Sunday, Saturday night, where guys on that podium at game day had some really choice words for Lane Kiffin. Saw Kirk Herbstreit's podcast this week. Saw Reese Davis's. I heard the comments of Pat McAfee. And here's what I got to say in reference to those words. It's funny how you can talk your shit, but then when you want to get views for game day, you can call Lane Kiffin. Keep that same energy. Now, the comment from the super chat that I said last night was that, look, if Lane's going to go on there and going on College Game Day is a big deal for the brand of LSU, but if you're going to go on there, I hope he calls him out. I hope he calls him out. Because everybody on that panel, Pat McAfee included. Pat McAfee left Barstool. Pat McAfee left 2 places before he took a deal at ESPN. Did he think about the team that he was with? Did he think about Barstool? Did he think about all the things? Did he think about the team he was currently leaving when he ultimately took a deal at ESPN? Stay with your team. He wanted to stay with his team. But the big thing about all of that is that I look at this and say to myself, to Lane Kiffin, go at him. Defend yourself. Because when I see Lane Kiffin, I see him going up there to the podium. I see him in interviews saying, I really wanted to coach this team. No, Lane, go for the jugular. Look, man, I thought this was the best thing for me and my family. I understand that we were going to the playoff. I hate it. Everybody is pointing to me and saying, this guy hasn't changed. This guy hasn't changed. He's still the same old Lane Kiffin. But if any of you would be presented with the same thing that I was, would you have done it too? And by the way, the guy that's on this panel, who's the best head coach of all time, and it's the reason that you hired him, I talked to him, and he told me it was the best job in the country. If I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm going all up in there and saying, all right, all 3 of you that are on this panel, not named Desmond Howard, you came after me this week. Now let's do something here. That man's the best head coach to ever walk planet Earth when it comes to college football. Now I want you to look me in the eye when y'all have never coached. I want you to look at Nick Saban in the eye, who is the best coach of all time, and tell me why I shouldn't have done what I did. Now, you can be mad at the way that Lane handled it. Tweeting from the Juice Kiffin Twitter account, you're a football guy, you want him to stay with the team. I get all of that. But the best one of all time told him to take it. I don't even know if Reese Davis knows what a backside guard is supposed to do to a 3-tech on 34 zone. But yet you're going to tell Lane Kiffin, hey, man, you should stay, you should stay, you should stay. It's best for your image. Fuck the image. Screw your image. You want everybody to like you. I get it. I want people to like me too. But there's going to be a third of the people in these comments that hate my flipping guts for whatever reason. They just hate my guts for whatever reason. They're not going to like you no matter what you say right now. The action is the action. Look me and Nick Saban in the eye and tell us that we made the wrong decision. Because when Reese Davis or Pat McAfee start piping up, no, son, sit your ass down. This is why you got to do what you got to do. It's not my fault the calendar sucks. And I see Ole Miss people, with their little violins. He didn't take the dog. He's a narcissist. He didn't take the dog. Look at what all these coaches are DMing me. Say it to their face now. Say it to their face. Say it to his face. Because the Bayou got Lane Kiffin's back right now. And when LSU's good, you make money. So keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. You know, they asked Greg Sankey about it too. And he said, we got to change the calendar. Teams shouldn't be able to poach. The SEC team should not be able to poach another SEC team's coach during the season. We should do it after the season. I agree. I 1000% agree. We shouldn't be able to do it. We should have some bystanders. We should put National Signing Day in February. Greg Sankey told y'all as much that this was not going to work, and it hasn't worked. It's not working. It's not working. But he's going to go up there on Saturday as Lane Kiffin. He's going to go up there. And I want him to talk his shit. And to all of you LSU fans that are here with us right now, You got to back him. You got to back him. Because let me tell you what's actually going on here. Yes, they're attacking Lane Kiffin. But we have to be the ones to have his back right now. And Nick Saban's, by the way. Never thought I'd say those words ever again. We got to have Nick Saban's back because they don't understand what he just did. What he just did was, yes, he made a very, very tough decision. That tough decision was leave a playoff team for a better job, for a top 3 job in the sport. Who else wouldn't do it? Guys, if any baseball coach is, regardless, any baseball coach, if the Boston Red Sox, and that's garbage. I hate the Red Sox. If the Yankees, if the Dodgers head coaching openings come open, everybody wants it. Everybody wants it. I'm going to have his back, and I'm ready to go 10. I'm ready to fight for it. I know I say embrace the villain role. Doesn't mean the villain doesn't fight. Sometimes you got to let some things go. I've let a lot of shit go over the last week. This whole week, I've seen Ole Miss media talking so much shit, and I'm just like, it's not worth it. I've bookmarked all of them. And there's going to come a day. There's going to come a day when them bookmarks, I got my own Ole Miss file ready to go. So when we go up to Oxford and wax their ass, I'm going to go, speaking of ratchet, I'm going ratchet. Talk your shit now. Yeah, you're right. Talk your shit right now. But College Game Day, you're bringing on the LSU head coach when you've been talking some shit. I hope Lane, who has known, we all know his personality, guys. We all know Lane Kiffin's personality. I hope he keeps that same energy. It's time to go up there and go full Louisiana on their ass. Let me bring up something to you. What you think Nick Saban would do? Nick Saban would go up there and start doing this. You know what I mean? The process is the process. The process is the process. We got to get here. He would do all the hand motions. He'd do all of them. You're not just talking to the head coach of LSU right now. You're talking to a former LSU head coach as well. So go talk your shit. I got Lane's back on this one, man. I hope they do. But I think it's funny that, you call him in now. You call him in now after you got your shit. Watch him back down. They're going to back down. Oh, Lane, great. You left the playoff team. They're going to back down. That same energy you had, keep it. Keep it. Reese Davis, keep that same energy, my guy. And you know what our media corps will do? Let me tell you what our media corps will do. They'll go and interview Reese Davis. It's coming. Oh, my God, Reese Davis is in town. No, man. Hey, man, I'll be cordial to you. I ain't got nothing personal against Reese Davis. It's nothing personal. Hey, man, how you doing? Good to see you, buddy. All right, and when we whip that ass, when we smack that candy ass, when The Rock goes out there tonight and smacks Triple H's candy ass, Stone Cold Steve Austin's candy ass, keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. I hope he goes full troll, man. You got to embrace it. He's your head coach. You might not like it. Who gives a shit what you like? It's you turned heel. Speaking of wrestling, you turned heel. You're G-Generation X. You turned heel. I'm all behind it. Let's go take it to them motherfuckers. All right. I ain't playing with them. I ain't playing with them. I ain't playing with them. Why should we play with them? Why should we play with them? All of us versus all of you Rudy Poo candy ass dudes. All you dudes who drive jacked up trucks in Mississippi and you drink your Budweisers. To all those in Mississippi, all those at Ole Miss, hootin' tootin' falutin' bootin' is what you about to get. You hootin' tootin' people, when the boot comes up in there, they're going to whip that candy ass. And let me tell you what I really would do. If I'm Lane Kiffin, I swear to God, the first thing I would say out of my mouth when they ask me a question, if Lamar Brown signs tomorrow, you know what the first fucking thing I'm saying tomorrow is? The first thing that I'm saying to Reese Davis and to Kirk Herbstreit is I point to Nick Saban and I say personally, you know, I heard Coach Saban a couple of weekends ago when he said he thought my decision would come down to going to LSU to get the best players in the country to go there so we can sustain and go after it for a national title. What he's really saying is, and what really has Ole Miss people so hurt and their feelings are so hurt that they got to take a little Midol, is they want to think that they're relevant so bad. And I'm going to go up in that hole and I'm going to say, yeah, coach was right. I signed the number 1 and number 2 defensive tackles in the entire country for the state that I coach in. What you got to say about that? You know who can't do that? Do you want to know who in the Rudy Poo cannot do that? Ole Miss. So to all of the Ole Miss media, oh my God, my Midol's not working. He signed the number 1 and number 2 defensive tackles in the country, and he's coming into Oxford to whip your candy ass. I'm sick of it. You've talked your shit. You've talked all of your shit. Now you're going to have to back it up. Last night we talked about, you know what no one wants to talk about with Lane Kiffin? What he's actually going to do on the field at LSU. What is he going to do? You don't want to talk about that. And all of you came in there today, oh, Blake, it will get its time. No, talk it now. Talk it now. Get out the algorithm. Talk it now. You have all that energy. You have big boy energy. It's like when Lane Kiffin walked up to Ben Garrett and said, if you want to call me a pussy, walk off in here and call me a pussy. And then you got the epic photo of Ben Garrett backing down. If a bully wants to come to you, if a bully wants to look you in the face and say some shit, punch him in the mouth. Knock his block off. Stand there. You want to quote ludicrous. You can't even spell ludicrous. Oh. I need a rally pillow. I mean, good Lord. Talk your shit. Back it up next time. If you want to talk it, come and fucking walk it. All right. My blood pressure is up now. Blake, along with Cain and Mikey, all became members on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Soda with a $5 super chat says, everyone stop saying Kelvin Shepherd. He's not taking his career backwards to college. Yeah, I just don't think that happens. I don't think that it happens. Stassi with a $5 super chat says, on the vitamins and look at the phone every time you buzz your phone buzzes thinking it's mine going on. Yeah. No, it's mine. I should put it on silent. I should just put it in my pocket. Normally, so here's what we do. Here's what I do. Normally, I will put it on something so that you can't hear it during like baseball season because there's no like breaking news really going on. And if it does, it does. Or I'll just have it in my pocket. No, no real big deal. We're in the show. Like, I don't, whatever. But now that all this coaching news is going on, I'm like, hey, it freaks me out that we don't, we want to know what's going on. I want to be doing content, nothing, something not, crazy happened. So, yeah. Horace with a $2 super chat says, again, go look at the Georgia code DC at Georgia. Yeah, T-Rob would be interesting. I mean, he's never called plays before, to my knowledge. So maybe he did somewhere, but it would be interesting. Legendary CEO gifted 20 memberships. Thank you, Legendary. Yeah, we're getting eerily close to 1,000 members on the YouTube channel. So I think it was like 898 of y'all that are in there. So thank you. So 20 more. So 20 people are about to get memberships. Thanks to Legendary. You the man. And we love you. So I hope some of y'all get it. Soda with a $5 super chat says, I know he just re-signed with Auburn, but go after Durkin anyways because he might be pissed off enough about them passing him up as the head coach. That's a good point. I mean, do you want to pay that buyout? I mean, he's going back. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I don't know. I know I'm getting clipped tonight. It's already happening. Steve Bean with a $5 super chat says Blake takes Tulane job. Frank goes with him with coach's bowl game. Yeah, I mean, I could see Frank doing that. I mean, if he doesn't have a job, I don't, guys, I'll continue to say, I have no idea if Frank's going to get retained or not, Corey's going to get retained or not. I don't know right now. I don't know. Curtis and I don't like Brian Kelly both became members on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Chef with a $2 super chat says, then why not throw the bag at Chris? Chris who? Partridge? I wouldn't mind Chris Partridge. He got in all of that thing with Michigan, and then he was exonerated. I wouldn't mind Chris Partridge. I mean, whatever Lane wants to do, man. I mean, I hope it's not like a Matt House situation, though. That's what I hope. Get good with a $2 super chat says, what's the word on Lamar? We talked about that earlier. I feel good about where the current situation is. Stephen Hawking with a $5 super chat says, it's Lane Kiffin. He's going to have something to say on Saturday. Going to walk in with double birds in the sky like it's WWE. I hope he goes full Stone Cold, man. I hope he stands up there with Pat McAfee, takes his shirt off, gets 2 beers, gets 2 Steve Weisers, and he smashes them together. I hope he does it. Now, some people will say, well, it's unbecoming, of an LSU head coach. Who gives a shit? You hired Lane Kiffin. You got to expect the crazy. I mean, here's the thing. When you hired Kim Mulkey, you knew what you were getting in Kim Mulkey. When you hired Lane Kiffin, you knew what you were getting in Lane Kiffin. But I hope he goes in there talking his shit. So, yeah. Peyton Gates with a $3 super sticker and also gifted an AYS membership. Thank you, Peyton. I greatly appreciate it, buddy. He also sends another super sticker for $1.49. Love it, buddy. Thank you. Mr. Terp says, screaming out loud, Blake, I got your back. Yeah, I'm pissed. To be blunt, let me just be completely blunt with you, Terps. I'm just fed up. In the old days, I would just be quote tweeting and fighting with everybody on social media as my day went along. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm got gray hairs coming. My hair is falling out. Y'all saw my bald spot on ESPN sitting in the second row of the Lane Kiffin the Lane Kiffin press conference. You see my bald spot in the back, and I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever. Normally, 6 years ago, 4 years ago, I'd probably be on there like talking all kinds of crazy shit. I'm getting too old. But I also get pissed off. Just like you and all the shit that you see on social media, there's shit that pisses me off on my algorithm too. There is shit that pisses me off too. So tonight, here's what I don't like. If you're going to be hypocritical, be hypocritical. Do it. Be two-faced. But what I hate, because I know this is what's going to happen. Reese Davis, not Herb Street, really, but Pat McAfee, they all had their shit that they had to talk. Talk it now. You're calling Lane Kiffin Two-Face, which is kind of funny because there's a villain named Two-Face. You're calling him Two-Face for leaving his team. He's not really different. You did that whole documentary for bullshit. Okay. Say it to his face. That's the shit that pisses me off, is that you'll invite somebody so that you can get views. Why don't we have a debate about it? And I swear to God, on everything, that I would go in there personally if Lamar Brown signs tomorrow, even if he doesn't. I'm going to go in there and say, well, yeah, the number one defensive tackle in the country just signed with me. Want to know why I leave? I heard Coach Saban a couple of weeks ago saying that he probably wants to go there because he can get a better team and better athletes more consistently inside the state of Louisiana. Yeah. Yes. He signed the number one and number two defensive tackles in the country. Yeah. If Lamar Brown were to sign tomorrow. Yeah. It's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm throwing shade at Ole Miss. Frank Castle with a $5 super chat says it's very sweet of Coach Kiffin, a.k.a. Trolling Tiger, to let little brother Ole Miss borrow the OC after their OC left for a better job. That's true. It's very true. Very, very, very true. It's just such a bad look for Ole Miss. Such a bad look. Jesse O'Neill with a $5 super chat says, congratulations on 13,000 episodes. Even though I'm 2 days late, though I watched the episode live. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. 1,300 episodes in. How about that? Thank you. That is crazy. 1,300 episodes. We've been in this thing a long time, man. We've been doing this thing for a while. That's why there's 9,000 of you in here right now. Maybe. Anyway, Stephen Alkin says Lane better wear a Heaux shirt on Saturday. Also, take it easy, big guy. You're gonna blow an O-ring. Yeah, I'm gonna be fine. I'll be fine. But that would be funny. I hope he trolls that level. Shay Allen with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Shay. Kenny became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Eric Raymond with a $2 super chat says, my favorite LSU Insider 100, 318, Shreveport tapping in. Yeah, we love the 318. We get quarterly reports. Ours comes out next week for podcast numbers. And I think the 318 is going to dominate again. I think they're going to dominate the audio numbers. By the way, I hadn't said this because we had so much to talk about. Guys, I'm pretty confident that we're going to be at number one inside the entire state from Apple Podcast downloads in all of the state. I'm pretty confident. From audio downloads, yes. I know we posted the article a while back that we were number two. Jesus was the only one that beat us. The Catholic Church was the only audio podcast that beat us on Apple. So I guess that I can never be above Jesus. I don't know if I want to actually leap the Catholic Church, but I mean, if the Lord's willing, let me just do it for a screenshot, Jesus. Let me just do it for a screenshot. That's all I need. Just a screenshot to say that we did it one time. That's all we need. But I think that they're going to post the other article about it too. Sourdough Man with a $5 super chat says all of these butthurt Ole Miss fans in tears should be celebrating their one playoff run. They can't help it. They used to crying. Yeah, they're used to crying. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Sourdough Man, I mean, I get it. This is in a lot of ways. I think it's funny. You know, Nick Saban said that his biggest regret was leaving LSU, and then Lane was kind of put in a situation kind of like that in a way. And then he goes to LSU, and, you know, I mean, got to take the jump, man. Got to take the leap. Royal War with a $5 super chat says Lane came to LSU for 3 days and signed a higher recruiting class than Ole Miss. Insane. Absolutely insane. Who would have ever thunk it? Terry Hilton became a member on the YouTube channel, and his avatar is Hayden Chervinsky, the shirt of Hayden Chervinsky. Still love Hayden Chervinsky to this day. Frank saw him about 3 weeks ago. Frank Castle with a $5, I think 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, at the LSU scrimmage. Frank sends a $5 super chat, says, I think the Ole Miss campuses Squirrels would have left with Kiffin if LSU wanted them. Dude has taken everyone with him. True. He needs it. You know, what's going on with Garrison? I think Garrison may stay. What really my question is right now is what's going to happen with Kevin Smith, their running backs coach. You know, do you want Kewan Lacey to come with him and say, hey, coach, I'm in the playoffs, but take Kewan Lacey with you. Take Kewan Lacey with you. Maybe he does that. I don't know. Who knows? Payne says, Rain got to stop like soaking wet at work and watching you. Pause. Yeah, I don't want you to be soaking wet watching us. I hope I mean, the ladies may be, but I don't want no men being soaking wet. I didn't want to hear that. But thank you for watching. Shay Allen with a $5 super chat says, born and raised LSU Tiger, living in Meridian, Mississippi. Ole Miss fans are so heaven butthurt. Can't wait for us to wax that candy ass next year. Go Tigers. Me too. Yeah, man, me too. I am ready to wax that candy ass. That is for sure. AR on YouTube with a $5 super chat says, if you were Lane, if Baker leaves and you miss out on Durkin, do you think that Rex Ryan would also be, who's also represented by Sexton? I would not hire Rex Ryan. No, I wouldn't do it. What was the other part of your question? Rex Ryan, no. Durkin did sign, so I mean, he is staying. I think he signed an extension. I mean, could you go do it? Yes. I don't know. It would be interesting. I think DJ Durkin would be my number one choice. Kenny with a $5 super chat says, anything with this nonsense about Ocho Cinco wanting to come to wide receivers? Also, what about Honey Badger as the secondaries coach? I don't know if this is a joke in reference to my Ed Orgeron comment, but these the kind of these are the things that are out there that just people don't, Ocho Cinco's not coaching wide receivers. You've hired George McDonald. You've hired another inside receivers coach. No. Rex Ryan, to me, also no. So it's a pretty hard no. Frank Castle with a $5 super chat says, guys, if any of you ever leave for another job, congratulations, you're a scumbag. And no, I never use sarcasm at a time like this. Yeah, guys, I worked with a team of people at my former employer. I did. I left that team to do this. Who made the better choice? Anyway, Stephen Trahan with a $2 super chat says, y'all, Brent Schaefer. I think I'm missing the joke there, my man. But thank you for being here, as always, Stephen. Hanville with a $5 super chat says, any surprise flips tomorrow in and out? Also, any portal names you're hearing as far as predictions? Nothing from portal because we don't really even know who's going to enter. And I would just say we talked about the flips potentially tomorrow. Just back up about 30, 40 minutes into the show. Trip Block says, does Kiffin get credit for this class? It's a great question. I mean, no, but the top names he should. What's wrong, Joel? He should, though. Stand by. What's the matter? Okay. You're naked. I can't bring you on here. Hold on. All right. So we got a little bit of an issue. I think we're done with super chats. But the little one is needed of assistance. So, but no, I don't. See y'all probably tomorrow. Peace.